A little girl is awakened by a cell phone alarm that rings in the room as the movie opens. The youngster then attempted to awaken her grandmother, who was sound asleep next to her, but in vain. She never saw her grandmother get up. On the other hand, there was a man driving a car who had just gotten off the phone and was upset. The nearly bald man hung up the phone and exited the vehicle. He then removed a greeting card with floral decorations from the trunk and set it down in the alley. He then entered a home after proceeding along a narrow lane. He asked a man wearing glasses there right away for a towel and some warm water. Then, using a towel and ready-made warm water, he cleaned the grandmother's body. Unwarily, a young child has been observing her granny for some time. She witnessed the man touch her sleeping grandma. She then emerged from concealment and used a stick to attack the man. After that, the man took the child and locked her in a room so she wouldn't cause a commotion. The man then carried on tending to the deceased granny. When the procedure was complete, the two guys exited and the grandmother's family entered the room. When the daughter-in-law of the grandma searched her mother-in-law, she was unable to locate the ring. She then called for those two morticians and searched both of them. The men protest, then demonstrate that they did not steal anything. Even their shirts were removed, leaving only their jeans on. The woman then bolted from the scene. After being placed in a coffin, the grandmother's body was now being transferred into a vehicle that was parked in front of the alley. Wu Xiaowen is the name of the young child, and she was still being held captive. Then her cousin informed her that her grandmother was in the box. So, recklessly, the young girl smashed open the window and escaped, then sped off after the van carrying her grandmother. After transporting the body to the crematory, the car came to a stop in front of a residence with a sign advertising funeral service. The bald man, Mo Sanmei, entered the home and was handed a peach by his companion. He took a seat again and looked at his phone. When his girlfriend broke up with him over chat, he was shocked. He then quickly got up from his seat and walked out. While driving his car at a high rate of speed, Sanmei unintentionally caught sight of Xiaowen, the young child. The young person questioned a street sweeper. Sanmei turned a blind eye to the young boy and proceeded to a clothing store that was still closed. He kept knocking till a woman opened the door. At first, the woman was reluctant to let Sanmei in by opening the door. However, she opened the door due to the man's commotion. Sanmei took up the woman and placed her on the bed right away. The woman turned out to be Sanmei's girlfriend. When a second man exited the restroom, Sanmei instantly challenged him to a duel, but he still loses in the end. The couple confirmed whether they will wed. In addition, the woman is expecting the man's child. Sanmei can't be a decent father, the woman added, which is why she decided to end her relationship with him. Sanmei eventually stormed out on them in rage. The young girl who had earlier followed Sanmei home questioned where her grandmother was when he got there. Even though her uncle had urged her to return home, Sanmei didn't care for the youngster and was instead driven to break into Sanmei's home. The girl, Xiaowen, was then forcibly taken by Sanmei and taken outside the home. One of Sanmei's neighbors approached him as he was smoking in front of his house and invited him to join his wedding business. Sanmei politely declined the invitation. Sanmei saw that his company sign for burial services was outdated, while his neighbor's was remained in good condition after his neighbor had left. At night, it rained. Sanmei was smoking while gazing out his window at the city lights at night. Sanmei was contemplating his issues, which is known to two of his buddies. He didn't like it when the two of them brought up the subject of Sanmei, because it seemed like they were making fun of him. In the midst of their discussion, Xiaowen abruptly returned, sweating profusely, and continued asking Sanmei where her grandmother was. After Xiaowen's uncle returned, when Xiaowen was ready to be ordered to leave, she reportedly fled. The girl's refusal to depart perplexed Xiaowen's uncle. The uncle then decided to give Sanmei custody of Xiaowen. Sanmei first rejected, but when Xiaowen's uncle offered to pay for Sanmei's friend's spectacles, who was wearing them, she accepted the offer right away. They'll watch over Xiaowen for 3 days. After that, San-mei's female companion immediately brought in Xiaowen. She changed her clothing in her uncle's closet after drying Xiaowen's body. Then, as was her custom when dining with her grandma, Xiaowen ordered garlic with her noodles. While eating, Xiaowen unintentionally dropped her noodles, which she swiftly scooped up. When San-mei noticed it, she punished Xiaowen for the unclean food. However, Xiaowen reasserted that everything was okay because she had remembered her grandmother's advice. San-mei frequently played the game with her grandma after meals when Xiaowen requested her to. San-mei asked the gold ring next to Xiaowen to be the betting item before beginning the game. By casting a quick glance at it, San-mei added that despite Xiaowen having taken the ring, he had been accused of stealing it. Then, Xiaowen concluded that she had taken the ring in order to prevent her other family from doing so. Then the four of them engaged in joint play. Even against a child, these three adults came up short. San-mei was startled out of sleep by dripping coming from the bed above him. San-mei abruptly voiced his displeasure at Xiaowen for sleeping with his friend, and it turned out that Xiaowen peed her pants as a result of her fear of using the restroom. Due to the creepy dolls there, the blanket that Xiaowen had been using was taken by San-mei right away, and she promptly put it in the washing machine. When Xiaowen arrived, San-mei took the two dolls and showed him. After that, Xiaowen was invited by San-mei's friend to resume sleeping on San-mei's bed. While San-mei chose to sleep on a chair, San-mei was awakened in the morning by a call from his father. He was given a thin red book and told to meet his father. After looking through the book under the mattress, San-mei realized that he had yesterday night's laundry in the washing machine. Finally, due to the loss of the writing in the book, San-mei was forced to wait another month before formally inheriting the house from his father. San-mei believed that everything was too difficult for a parent who would offer his son a house. San-mei's father, however, was impatient and thrashed San-mei with a stick. As a result, San-mei's father began to worry that if he provided San-mei a house, San-mei would have other intentions. San-mei's father assured him that he is always keeping an eye on him. San-mei received a call from a friend a short while later telling him to go to the hospital to pick up the body. San-mei, however, refuses to since he is tired of it, and will shut down his company. San-mei instantly fled to his friend because his father was obviously furious. San-mei is currently relaxing in the hospital waiting area when Xiaowen enters and startles him, the young child constantly requesting to see her granny. Then, San-mei runs upon his friend, who is carrying a recently deceased person. Then, his acquaintance went up to San-mei and informed her that a little girl had just passed away. San-mei gazed at Xiaowen right away. After that, San-mei offered to take Xiaowen to meet her grandma in exchange for her compliance. The child who had just passed away was in a funeral parlor when San-mei accompanied Xiaowen there. San-mei provided his funeral services after expressing his sympathies. San-mei added that he was sorry, and added that he had a daughter named Xiaowen. San-mei photographed the contract letter after receiving it, and emailed it to his father. They are currently in the funeral home. San-mei advised Xiaowen to remain in the vehicle. This young child initially complied with San-mei's instructions and remained still. She then noticed the coffin, and instantly recalled her cousin telling her that their grandmother was inside. The casket was then pursued by Xiaowen as she entered the structure. At other people's funerals, Xiaowen riots. Additionally, the presence of a youngster in the funeral home incensed the family. San-mei was warned not to return to that location by the cops after that occurrence, and she also received a warning from them. Then, San-mei approached Xiaowen in the car and reprimanded her. At first, Xiaowen was furious and threw her stick at San-mei. San-mei, however, instructed her to stab him. He then raised himself to Xiaowen's height, and pointed up to the chimney on top of the structure. The young girl is informed by San-mei that her grandmother has vanished and is now in paradise. When Xiaowen realized this, she started to cry because it turned out her grandmother had abandoned her forever. The tearful Xiaowen was instantly consoled by San-mei's female acquaintance. The eyeglass-wearing acquaintance of San-mei also informed Xiaowen that her grandmother has already ascended to paradise. San-mei added that Xiaowen's grandmother had evolved into a celestial body. The pink box pot that San-mei had ordered then arrived. Tomorrow, San-mei's client will use the pot. San-mei slipped off his bed while sleeping, since he shared a bed with his pal. He then unintentionally caught sight of Xiaowen sitting outside and gazing up at the skies. San Mei ignored it and returned to her sleep on the chair. San Mei was astonished to see Xiaowen draw on his client's pot in the morning. San Mei stares nervously at his client at the cremation location. He then inquired about the pot before turning to face his pal. Numerous methods have been attempted and failed by San Mei's pal. San Mei then draped a black cloth over the box. San Mei makes an effort to apologize while keeping the jar away from his client, but the customer was eager, so he coerced San Mei into giving him the jar. When San Mei's client noticed the pink box that had been marked up, he remained still. After that, the husband and wife bowed before San Mei and mentioned how much their daughter formerly loved to draw. The wife then went over to tie up Xiaowen's hair. Actually, the client is really appreciative of San Mei. They share snacks when San Mei and the others are home. The eyeglass-wearing acquaintance of San Mei claims that Xiaowen isn't very irritating. San Mei noticed Xiaowen eating the snack after dropping it. San Mei admonished the youngster once more before opening a jar, removing some snacks, and giving them to Xiaowen. San Mei consumed it as well, but it turned out that the contents of the jar were not edible. San Mei, however, observed that Xiaowen had already ingested it. Finally, San Mei took Xiaowen to the hospital after picking her up. After the doctor had checked Xiaowen, she was thankfully given the all-clear to return home. At home, Xiaowen emerged from the restroom. These three grown-ups entered the restroom right away to search for the ball that Xiaowen had ingested. Finally, they discovered it, which indicates that Xiaowen's condition is now fine. After then, Xiaowen's uncle called San Mei. Later, when Xiaowen's uncle had come home, San Mei and his pals went to greet him. The uncle quarreled with his wife as he prepared to deliver Xiaowen. Instead of wanting to care for Xiaowen, this woman lamented the fact that her husband was more preoccupied with the children of other people than his own. Then, as San Mei and his pals headed home, Xiaowen pursued them. San Mei eventually agreed to care for Xiaowen. Because San Mei had previously reprimanded Xiaowen numerous times, his companion made fun of him in the car. When they arrived home, their car then came to a stop. San Mei's father was there, already positioned in front of the residence. San Mei was struck by his father as soon as he exited the vehicle. It turns out that when his father learned that San Mei was looking after a young girl, he was furious. San Mei's father was about to strike San Mei once more, when Xiaowen abruptly intervened and told him to stop. San Mei's father threatens to evict San Mei before departing. That incident kept San Mei awake at night. He then walked over to the couch and started playing on his phone. When he receives his ex's wedding invitation, he is shocked. San Mei then promptly slid out of his chair. Xiaowen, who was evidently awake, observed the scene and simply laughed aloud at San Mei. San Mei awakens the following morning to Xiaowen striking him in the face. The youngster then requested San Mei's phone number, which she noted on her on-hand smartwatch. Then, out of the blue, Xiaowen emailed a picture of San Mei's accident from yesterday night. San Mei regarded the image of himself, and Xiaowen grinned in response. They ate breakfast outside this morning. Xiaowen hastily consumed the noodles. The young girl was promptly cautioned by San Mei to eat slowly and not to pick up any dropped noodles. Yet Xiaowen was still able to recall her grandmother's advice. San Mei still reprimanded the girl. Nevertheless, they parted ways shortly after. But when Xiaowen calls San Mei, the youngster instructs him to go to the park. She introduced San Mei to an elderly man. The grandfather declared that he intended to arrange his own burial. San Mei initially declines because he feels it would be odd to perform the task for a living person. The grandpa, however, warned that the idea of the emperor's funeral would come at a tremendous cost. Without San Mei's consent, her companion accepted right away. Additionally, Xiaowen, San Mei, his two buddies, and they all had a meal of beef at night. They held a little gathering. San Mei and Xiaowen were also seen toasting. They appear to have become acquainted. For the grandfather, they planned a gathering. Then they began renting out clothing and making people paid visitors. That day came. Everyone is dressed up and wearing makeup. The hired visitors, led by Sanmei's pal, also start to cry. Soon after, members of the grandfather's family arrived and promptly took Sanmei into custody. Sanmei and his two buddies at the police station just sat and observed the discussion between the authorities and grandfather's family. Sanmei's temple had a wound from the earlier violence, which Xiaowen noticed. Then Xiaowen splashed her palm with saliva. She then placed it on Sanmei's wound after that. Sanmei initially avoided. According to Xiaowen's grandmother, it may be able to reduce inflammation. The police then walked over to Sanmei and his buddies and requested their signature. They were then given permission to go. Sanmei encountered the grandfather as she descended the stairs. According to the grandfather, he spent his money on purpose to prevent family feuds over it. If he knew Xiaowen's grandma, the grandfather also said it. On behalf of Xiaowen's grandmother, he thanked Sanmei. Sanmei was astounded by his father's behavior, which had ruined everything when he returned home. When his son conducted the funeral for the living, the father broke the window in retaliation. Sanmei was once more defended by Xiaowen, who informed Sanmei's father that she was to blame. Sanmei then abruptly expresses his feelings, which his father had always considered to be improper. As a result, Sanmei's older sister slapped her and urged their father to leave the crying Sanmei right away. Sanmei fixes Xiaowen's broken stick at night. Then, Xiaowen started to cry. Sanmei was perplexed and inquired as to the girl's reasons for crying. Because she consistently causes difficulties for Sanmei, Xiaowen claims she is sad. After the youngster calmed down after hearing this, Sanmei advised her to go to bed, since her grandmother will appear in her dreams as one of the stars. Sanmei was enlisted by Xiaowen to assist in repairing her broken smartwatch. The girl gave Sanmei a red square clock, and Sanmei sketched a clock on the girl's hand as a temporary timepiece. The neighbor's boy, who was the same age as her, was seen by Xiaowen in the morning. A loud poetry reading by the young boy. Sanmei then made a breakfast request over the phone to Xiaowen. Sanmei also believed that it was time for Xiaowen to leave for school at that point. Sanmei approached Xiaowen's uncle to discuss enrolling Xiaowen in school before doing so. Inquiring about Xiaowen's parents, Sanmei, however, it transpires that her mother passed away, and they are unsure about Xiaowen's father's identity. Uncle Xiaowen sobbed in disappointment. Sanmei ultimately determines that he will be the one to send Xiaowen to school. Sanmei is single and ineligible for adoption, while Xiaowen must have a married guardian. Sanmei then went to his female friend's home. Sanmei's buddy approaches her after realizing that she is wearing perfume. But soon after, Sanmei's male companion emerged from the restroom. They then acknowledged that they had been married secretly the entire time. Sanmei could only chuckle. But he was also happy that his two buddies would take on the responsibility of being Xiaowen's guardians. Sanmei had to drag Xiaowen inside the school because he didn't even want to enter. Sanmei took Xiaowen's watch to the repair shop after dropping him off. Sanmei also gave Xiaowen the smartwatch when she got home from school. Then, Xiaowen inquired as to whether her grandmother's voice was still audible on the watch. The fact that Xiaowen won't ever hear her grandmother's voice again makes her sad. Sanmei, however, reassured Xiaowen later on, and asserted his amazing abilities. His ex-girlfriend enters while Sanmei is poring over an old book, and announces that her husband has passed away in an accident. She requested Sanmei for assistance because he had fractured bones, but Sanmei resisted strongly until Xiaowen finally pushed Sanmei obnoxiously in the direction of the park. Father of Sanmei is dancing with women there. Sanmei is asked by Xiaowen to speak with his father, and Sanmei claims that his father is necessary to this enterprise. Finally giving in, Sanmei's father places Sanmei in front of the dead body of his ex-lover's spouse. When he saw it, he was on the verge of throwing up and crying, but his father forced and comforted him, telling him that Sanmei could handle it. Sanmei starts putting the corpse together as per his father's directions, and he is successful. His father collapses and faints as his ex-girlfriend is praising Sanmei, because Sanmei offered their father wine, which caused him to pass out. Sanmei's sister is upset with him. Following what his sister had stated, Sanmei begged his father for permission to attend Xiaowen's school. Sanmei's father is secretly pleased that his son is beginning to care while he is away. Sanmei witnessed Xiaowen and the neighbor's son performing at the school. They staged a play in which this boy's mother passed away. As Xiaowen's teacher admonished Sanmei and his two companions, the mother hurriedly took her son off the stage. Worried, the teacher exhibits Xiaowen's artwork of a funeral. Sanmei then approached a silent Xiaowen. Sanmei, who had just returned from seeing his father, noticed Xiaowen studying in a room that had no electricity and was only lit by a desk lamp. Sanmei turned on the room light right away, and when Xiaowen spotted Sanmei approaching, she joyfully welcomed him. The days passed. Sanmei, who is involved in burial services, and Xiaowen, a student, they occasionally play together and take trips to the beach. Sanmei is still attempting to record the voice of Xiaowen's grandmother. He sought out professionals and ultimately obtained the tape that had been stored on a flash disk. Xiaowen was shocked to find her home transformed to be tidier and more decorated with birthday greetings. When she returned from school, Sanmei was also present, but kept his hands to himself. Then he gave Xiaowen's grandmother's leftover tiger doll, which belonged to Xiaowen. Due to the improvement in her tiger doll, Xiaowen was overjoyed. Xiaowen heard her grandmother's voice when Sanmei instructed her to press the tiger's tail. She was astounded and quickly started crying happy tears. Sanmei gave Xiaowen his all. When Xiaowen gave Sanmei a hug, tears were also streaming down her face. Sanmei drives Xiaowen to school. On the way home, Xiaowen's uncle and a woman who is not his wife approach him. The woman, according to Xiaowen's uncle, was Xiaowen's birth mother. Sanmei disputes it and declares that they are lying. Xiaowen's uncle appeared to be sick of this issue since he walked away. Xiaowen's biological mother was established by this woman. She claimed that because she was in prison abroad, no one could reach her and assumed she had passed away. Sanmei simply left after the mother went into detail about how Xiaowen was born. Sanmei knotted Xiaowen's hair at night and questioned the young woman about her mother. Xiaowen answered that she didn't have a mother. Then Xiaowen went straight to bed to fall asleep, and the woman who identified herself as Xiaowen's mother came back. Sanmei explained to the woman that he was unable to act alone, since Xiaowen's care was shared by him and his two pals. When the woman knelt down and requested 3 days, Sanmei then consented. Sanmei made the most of his time with Xiaowen throughout those 3 days. Everyone at the dinner table appeared content as he prepared a large amount of food for Xiaowen. However, Xiaowen noticed a sad-looking Sanmei. Then Xiaowen asked Sanmei directly. Sanmei, however, immediately altered his expression in order to calm Xiaowen. A meeting for parents will be held tomorrow, according to Xiaowen. Although Xiaowen only required one person, the 3 individuals wanted to attend the parents' meeting. Sanmei eventually showed up for the meeting. Sanmei participates in a tournament at Xiaowen's school, which is seen by the child's parent. The other kids are entertained by his fan dance as well. The parents are now facing their child as they sit. The self-portrait of Sanmei that Xiaowen created was given to the recipient. Thanks to Sanmei, Xiaowen was no longer concerned about losing her grandmother, because she now had a father. Sanmei ties Xiaowen's hair at night and queries her about her father's identity, residence, and contact information. All of Xiaowen's questions were answered correctly, but she protested to Sanmei that she was tired. After this young girl fell asleep, it soon began to rain. The biological mother of Xiaowen arrived in a cab. Under the mother of Xiaowen, Sanmei carried Xiaowen into the cab. Sanmei also provides Xiaowen's belongings. He advised Xiaowen's mother to look after her well. Even Sanmei was informed about Xiaowen's sleeping arrangement, and he is quite guarded. After they had a disagreement, Xiaowen got out of bed and contacted Sanmei, who was her father. But eventually, the taxi drove off. Sanmei pursued Xiaowen in the rain because he still couldn't let the young girl go. Sanmei, however, was not particularly powerful, so he stopped in the middle of the road. The following day, Sanmei simply sits and listens to his friends' conversations, before an argument breaks out about Xiaowen's departure. Soon later, Sanmei learns of his father's passing. Sanmei was grieved at the time by the passing of both Xiaowen and his father. Up until the cremation, Sanmei took care of his father. Sanmei declines his sister's request to bury their father's ashes on the grounds that it goes against their father's wishes. Then, with the help of of his pals, he removed the ashes. San-mei torched the wick after bringing the ashes to the beach and placing them in a tube. The ashes vanished as they fled as fireworks erupted in the sky. San-mei is now aware of his father's desire to avoid an extravagant burial. San-mei receives a call from Xiaowen, who is missing, while she is traveling home in the automobile. Then, up until late at night, he searched everywhere for the child. He heard Xiaowen's cry coming from behind as he was making his way back to his house to rest. San-mei reprimanded her right away. Because she could recall her father's name, residence, and phone number, Xiaowen pouted and vowed that she would never go missing. San-mei hugged Xiaowen right away, since he didn't seem to be able to contain his rage. Friends of San-mei host a wedding celebration. Then, Xiaowen's mother just came to return Xiaowen's possessions. After San-mei agreed, he extended an invitation for the woman to join his company, so she could continue to see her daughter. They all sat outside together at night to gaze at the stars in the sky. And now the film is ended. Subscribe for more content like this. Don't forget to turn on notifications and leave a like to support the channel. Thank you for watching.